ZombieTech. Welcome to ZombieTech, a forum for engineers, scientists, and inventors to ponder on the technologies needed to survive the inevitable zombie apocalypse.
She's Addie, and
He's
I'm
Whisker.
and we've got on the line today
John
John S. from
underscore AZ.
Arizona.
Hello.
Hi, John. How's it going?
Now, just to bring you guys up to speed, John is, he was an engineer. Now he's sort of,
He's still an engineer.
now he's kind of a bum, but,
No, he's not.
he wanders
He's
around
awesome.
town collecting garbage.
Well, I'm a bossless engineer.
Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah.
Isn't that the ideal job to have?
Well, I think so.
See?
I'm pretty happy
Basically,
with
if you got to the point where you're a bossless engineer, you must have done something right on the way there.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
So in his now sizable free time, John is working on putting together an educational show for his YouTube channel called Hackers Bench TV. And it's just about to get off the ground here. He's been working the last few months getting all the pieces together. And as we know, that is a very sizable task indeed.
Yep.
I wish I'd have known that going in.
Would you not have started it then?
I think I would have done things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I muddled through a whole lot of equipment that just wouldn't work and ended up trashing that and having to buy new stuff. And if I'd have known that going in, I could have just bought the new stuff up front and saved myself about 4 months of mucking around with stuff.
Sure.
But I think I've got it all together now. So
Thankfully,
forward
the bar for entry has lowered a lot as far as how much it costs to get into this sort of thing. But that doesn't really, when you say that to people that are interested, they hear, oh, that means that I can get into it. And yeah, sure, that's true. But when we say the cost of entry has lowered, we don't mean that it's cheap. We mean that it's no longer $100,000 to be able to produce a show. It's more like you're going to drop a few K to get started.
Well, actually, I think you could do it for a lot less than that.
Depends on what you want to achieve, really.
Exactly. 'Cause, there are a lot of
And it depends
video
on
blogs
what
out
you
there.
count, as part of the cost, too. Do you count the brand new computer that you needed?
Well, I do, because the PC I bought is dedicated to doing the audio and video work. It's
Exactly,
not going to
and
do anything else.
You managed to find a very cheap computer to do that with. Most people are using whatever computer they had on hand, and most people's normal computers weren't cheap. There's $1,000 right there.
True. I may be a unique case, though, because, the PC I bought is probably 3-4 years out of, the currently available stuff. It's probably 3 years ago. It was brand new. So I got it really inexpensively.
Right.
But that PC is still better than any of the other PCs I've got around here. Because I hang on to my equipment until every last little electron is squeezed out of the thing and it won't do anything anymore.
That's awesome.
So
That's the way to roll.
So-
We do all our audio work on our Mac Mini, which is, gosh, I must have got it
6-7 years.
2006, 2007. Yeah.
No, you got it 2006.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I've had it for many, many years now, and it's still kind of working. It's limping.
yeah, well, and as I started putting the equipment together and trying to figure out, okay, everybody says you need multiple cores to render your video and you need all this power, and yeah, okay, let's go back and really look. And I talked to some other people, and the thing is, what I bought was a 2-core Pentium, which is dirt cheap and far from the current power levels of modern systems. But I took that new system with what it came with XP Pro and stripped out every last bit of software that doesn't absolutely have to be there
Right.
to run audio or video, and that thing just rocks. It's speedy. I see other people talk about how long it takes to render this or that or the other thing, and this PC just sitting by itself with nothing else running just cooks right through that. So for less than $200, I got the PC that's going to do nothing but that, but it's optimized for it and it does real well.
Right.
And is that
You know-
720p video that you're rendering?
Yeah.
How long for, say, I don't know, about a 10-minute video?
I haven't done a 10-minute video yet, but based on the 3-4 minute one,
Okay.
a
No,
3-4
the
minute
3-4
video.
minute
that
videos I can render really fast, but you get anything about 8.5 or higher, and it just exponentially gets longer and longer with each second that you add. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, okay, so I guess I really don't know how fast the render will be,
For longer ones.
but from the anecdotal stuff I've been hearing and reading online, I really don't care because that computer, the computer isn't going to be doing anything else. It's
right.
not like I can't get back online until that computer's done doing the render. I can
Right.
just hit go and
Right.
and
Yeah,
leave
for
it for hours.
$200.
Yeah, I wish I had that capability, but I use my main machine to do the video editing and rendering. So when it's rendering, man, I just stuck. I can't get anything else done.
We just
Yeah.
get a $200 Pentium dual core processor.
Yeah, that's the
There.
last thing I need is another computer piled up on here.
So then, what else? What else do you have in your setup currently? Because I know you had to muck through some stuff, though. I don't know exactly what specifically you ended up having to go through. So, like, what did you end up having to address, and what have you come up with since?
Well, the first issue was getting what I consider decent video, and that's another one that you really have to decide what do you want your end product to look like, because I see a whole lot of people out there that post videos and have video blogs using low res webcams, and they're just happy with that. And
Right.
I wasn't going to be happy with that. It was I was a bit disappointed because over the years I've accumulated a lot of analog video gear. I mean, some high-end cameras, a lot of really nice optics, and I got a high-end video converter that'll take the analog in to the PC, and my high-end converter and my high-end camera and my high-end optics look like crap because it's still analog video, and you just can't get the resolution out of it. So
Oh no! Even with
basically,
the high quality converter.
yes.
Well, it's
Even with that,
videos,
it's-
so it's doing what NTSC
Yeah.
quality. It's just nothing compared to what we can do with 720p these days.
Oh, that sucks.
Right. You convert an NTSC analog video into digital, and it is not as good as a $20 webcam.
God, that sucks.
So it was a big disappointment. I packed all that gear up and bought the Microsoft LifeCam, the same one you guys picked up.
Yep.
And my tests with that show that this $50 camera just runs rings around all the other analog and stuff I had. So I have that for video, and then the little flip
Yep.
that I got from you guys. Thank you again very much.
Anytime.
Well, not anytime. We only had the one.
Well, yeah.
Let's be clear on that. You can't have the other cameras. For those of you who don't know, we won a little flip video camera through a giveaway contest that John was also entering into
Well-
because he really wanted it for his show.
We didn't know about this contest, and John suggested or said that there's this contest, so I entered it in, and of course, instead of John winning, I won, and John had wanted the flip camera, so we sent it to him.
Yeah, already have a Flip Ultra HD, so we just sent him the flip.
Yep.
And you guys are awesome for that.
No.
So, but anyway, I've been playing with that, and the video off the flip, I'm pretty impressed with. I'm
good.
absolutely going to be able to use the video. The audio on the flip is absolutely horrible and is completely unusable. So
We use it for our show, the onboard audio. We use it all the time.
But I don't know if there's a big difference
There is
between...
a huge difference between the audio that we're going to be able to get on the podcast here using our recording studio equipment and what we normally put up on YouTube.
Well, no,
with
that's
the
not
onboard.
what I mean. What I mean is I don't know if there's a big difference between the audio used on the Flip that John has and the Flip Ultra HD that we have.
I imagine the audio is probably pretty close to the same.
You think
That's
so?
a much more standardized technology. They pretty much do it the same across the board.
Like, how crappy does it sound on the Flip for you?
Well, you know, the thing is, the audio on the Flip, if that camera is within a couple of feet of what you're recording,
yeah.
and your only video source is going to be the audio and video off that camera, it's usable. The issue, if you're using the Flip to do longer shots, you know, I'm doing pieces of video where I'm making this gigantic workbench and the camera's 10 feet away, it sounds horrible.
Right.
Plus, the audio, if, you know, in a lot of cases, I envision wanting to edit together video shot on the Flip and video shot in my shop with the life cam.
Mm-hmm.
It's the difference in the audio that makes it totally unacceptable.
Sure.
Because while the Flip audio is okay, you know, I've got the Audio Technica mic in the shop that's, you know, 24 inches above my head and sounds really, really good. So then when I try to edit together those pieces, it's just
It's
going
like
to be
three completely different.
yeah, it'll
sounds.
be glaring that the audio is horrible on the little thing. So now I'm investigating a little standalone portable audio recorder. I sent you guys the link to that.
Yeah, we actually are recording on that standalone video recorder right now. That's how we're recording the podcast.
Right.
Do you need to get that?
No, I can ignore it, but it's not going to stop ringing. Where's the... There, I muted it. So I'm back. Never fails.
Yeah, so you're talking about the little Sony recorder, right?
The little Sony portable recorder.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it would be really nice if you had plenty of money and you could go buy a really nice multi-channel digital audio recorder.
I tell you what, Jen, you know that little Cascade preamp that I designed the other day?
Uh-huh.
If you were to take that and your dynamic Audio Technica mic and plug it into this thing, you're going to get extremely good audio. From my tests over the last few days with this, you're going to be absolutely fine.
Really?
Yeah, just it's great. Audio quality is really good on it.
Okay, I think
No.
I'll be buying one of those.
Not necessarily through its onboard electric mics, but through its microphone input. As long as you preamp it, it's going to be amazing.
I never would have presumed to use an internal mic in anything to record video
Just like
that's
on the
ultimately
Flip.
going to be put out.
Yep.
So that's good to hear. I may actually get that. I don't know that I'd use my Audio Technica. Might find a good little clip-on lavalier
Lapel.
or something.
Yeah, you could hang a room mic and do it that way.
So, but basically, what I wanted the Flip and the audio recorder was doing remote stuff out there. You know, I have in mind several videos that are going to be in weird places where, you know, in my shop I shoot video with this dedicated PC. I am not going to lug that anywhere.
No.
So I have to have a portable solution.
Right.
So
We actually made that comment here in the studio yesterday when we were setting up to start using this portable recorder as our dedicated hardware recorder. And I got it working, and I was like, you know what? Technically, with the cascaded preamp, we are actually capable of setting up a little camera rig that has the hardware recorder, the Flip, and a little preamp box, and a microphone, and we could go mobile. We could go out and record in the field if we wanted to.
yeah, which is exactly what I want to do. I mean, there's some awesome surplus electronic stores that'd be fun to go walk through and shoot a video, or you know,
Got to be careful of your wallet there.
Yeah, my favorite Goodwill stores. I was thinking I could do an episode on where do you actually find metal. If you're
That'd
going
be
to build
great.
something and you need to pay some metal, well, I've got 8 different places where from literal junkyards that I go haunt to an honest-to-God industrial metal supplier over in Tempe that I buy stuff from.
That's just going to be really interesting content, especially for folks that are our age, because our parents' generation were the generation of people that didn't want to necessarily do things themselves. They wanted to pay other people to do it. So they didn't, show us the ropes on how to go to necessarily to a junkyard to get something you need, or to a metal warehouse and be able to pick out what you need, or how to tell how much wood you need in board feet. They just didn't necessarily teach people our age that stuff. And it's people our age that are getting into this maker community online and watching these YouTube videos and going out there and wanting to do projects. And we're ending up spending a lot more money on materials than we should be, because we simply don't know all the tricks and tips that all you old hats have.
Yeah, way more than you have to, because there's a whole lot of the younger people getting in here that, you guys, the 1 3/4 aluminum angle stock you found.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They'll need something. They know what they need. They know basically the shape, but if Home Depot doesn't have it for them, they're going online and paying shipping. And, there are 6 or 7 places I would go to look for that angle iron or angle aluminum.
Where is
here.
that?
Pardon me?
Where? Off the top of your head.
Well, here's one of the little secrets that a lot of people don't realize. Most any, I'm not even going to say major, large-ish city is going to have a place where everybody goes to sell all the scrap metal they accumulate.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
There are 3 of them within 20 miles of me here, and 2 of the 3 will pull people will bring in aluminum scrap and sell it. They will pull out good dimensional pieces and put it in racks, and you can go buy it by the pound.
Wow.
And
And that's
usually
the best price you're going to get. Yeah.
Wow.
the cost here typically is twice the salvage rate. So with aluminum at, I don't know, I think it's knocking on $2 a pound. You're gonna buy angle iron at like $3.50 a pound. It's not by the inch. It's not by the foot. All they care about is what's the damn thing weigh. So it's the melt value times 150%.
Yeah, like I mean, here we went to Home Depot to. I don't think we got the angled aluminum, did we? No, we
got
did.
just a short piece for finishing up the Sid organ, but
was
the more bulky order of that stuff, we actually found a really good online source that's going to ship it for free and has a really cheap price.
But
yeah, you sent me that link, and that's actually a pretty darn good price.
Yeah, but at Home Depot for sure. I mean, we saw some pieces that were, I don't know what, $30, $40 for like
a couple of feet of aluminum.
Yeah, exactly.
Home Depot and Lowe's are absolutely the most expensive metal you can conceivably buy.
Sure.
It's an awesome place to go buy 2x4s and paint.
Yeah.
And if you need odd nuts and bolts, they're pretty good for that too. But man, weird dimensional metal stuff, expanded sheet metal of any kind, that's not where you want to be. Or glass or plexiglass.
Right.
Just the raw material stuff.
Right.
You can almost always do better. So, but anyway, background, that's just one of the video episodes I want to be able to shoot. But that means I've got to be able to do audio and video at 8 different remote locations and bring it all back here and edit it up. And I hear everybody on there say, "Oh my God, it's going to take you forever to edit." Well, I guess I'm still a newbie because I love editing. That's fun. Putting all those pieces together and everything.
Whereas we've got to edit 2 episodes a week, so our editing happens, in the camera, where we just don't screw up, so that we don't have to edit anything, and then I can just drop it into my editor, cut off the beginning when you get the little pop from turning on the camera, cut off the end where you've got the little pop from turning off the camera, throw on my intro, my outro, I'm done. Okay, move on. Next thing.
Well, basically, what I plan on doing is one, maybe two major. I mean, to me, it sounds pompous to call them productions, but a major video, which is researched and edited, and it's got the web page backing it up, and it's all put together. Maybe one or two a month of those. And what I've actually already done is set up a second YouTube channel that I just called the back channel. And there I'm just going to drop 1-2 minute knockoffs, wacky things going on at my bench or odds and ends, stuff that's not documented.
Sure.
I'm kind of taking a lead from Jerry Ellsworth on that, actually, because, she does big production videos, and then she does just
The knockoff, yeah.
2 minutes of her welding pipe on her race car, and
Right.
she gets all these complaints that, well, you didn't say enough about it, and you didn't do this, and well, that's not what that is. So
Right.
she created her second channel, and I did that up front.
Right.
So I'm going to have those little drop-ins. God only knows how. Those aren't going to be edited. It's just going to be a chunk of video cut, rendered, and uploaded, and it is what it is.
We have our second channel as well, but we mostly use it for things that just really aren't related to the thought stream of our main channel.
Yeah.
Maker Dino has a second channel too.
Maker Dino's got like 3 channels.
I think his cat has a channel too, doesn't it?
Really?
Wouldn't
Not
surprise me.
JVet's channel.
So, but it's all coming together. I can't do the remote stuff yet, but I'm pretty well set up to start shooting in the shop. So
That's great.
we'll
And
do
what?
the little audio sequencer first as the test run, and
Yeah.
see how it goes from there.
Yeah. And what software do you use to edit all your stuff,
Oh,
if anything?
the audio or video editor?
He
Yeah.
does it through John Magic.
No, what is it? Video Pad?
No idea.
Is that like the $50?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's $39.
There you go.
Nice.
Let me minimize you. Video Pad video editor. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, I actually paid for that software. I have nothing to do audio, but for the time being, I'm just going to drag the audio along with the video and go for that. I'm not going to have to worry about audio editing until I get field audio to work with, where I'm recording a video stream and an audio stream separately and have to put them together.
Right.
Then I'll worry about an audio editor, mixer, whatever I need for that. And then the little digital clapboard, and I'll be good to go there too.
So you
It's a lot of fun.
mentioned that your first major project here is going to be a sequencer, and I've been paying attention to this one because I actually want to build one too. He's got a 555 timer that he's using as a clock that's running a counter, and the counter is running through a chip that picks one out of several resistors. And then the resistors are basically choosing the voltage that's going into a voltage-controlled oscillator. Now, this is very similar to a project that we covered in episode 1, Roy Eltham's pinball machine. Now, the voltage-controlled oscillator is putting out a square wave. And what Roy did was set it up so that the frequency, the width of the pulses change according to the resistance, according to the voltage being dropped across the chosen resistor, and that actually rotates a servo to a particular rotation, and that controls a dial on his scoreboard for his pinball machine. And you're doing the same exact thing here, really, but instead of using the pulse width modulation to control a servo, you're using it to create a frequency in the human hearing range.
Correct. Well, he's also he was just using 555s, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was using the 555 and the decade counter and the mux, just like your design. It's so similar.
It's very cool. Well, it's a real basic design. And actually, what's funny, using the analog mux chip and the counter strategy, you can go online and look up do-it-yourself analog synthesizers, musical synthesizers, and look at their sequencers, and that's basically what this is. There's very little difference between this circuit and those fairly high-end and expensive analog synth modules. So, but this is really designed to be a real basic beginner circuit because it's difficult to describe because I can't point at the schematic, but it's broken down into 4 or 5 standalone modules that have one chip each, and each one is very understandable by itself. So it's one block feeds the next block, feeds the next one. So I think it's a really good beginner circuit because you've got analog happening, you've got an audio amp, plus you got some digital counters, and it just ties it all together in one little pretty horrible sounding noisemaker.
And for John's show, he's being very productive and like professional about it. He's got the video content that goes with it. He's got the blog that goes with it. He's got schematics that he's drawn up for it. And, it's all cohesively put together and cross-linked and, all done properly. Completely opposite of how we do things, which is all haphazard and all over the place.
Well, and I don't criticize anyone else, but I will say that, I've been following a lot of what's been going up on the web for quite a few years, and there are a whole lot of sites where somebody's designed this thing and they put up their blog post, their page, that's all text and has the schematics, and they do a real good job of putting it all there. But video would help them explain portions of it a whole lot better. And here recently, I'm finding a whole lot of YouTube channel people who are doing awesome projects, and they'll do a 10-minute video, and they have no website backing that up. There's no schematic out there. There's no discussion about how the circuit works. And I personally would enjoy pieces that, in a good way, take the best of both worlds.
Right.
Okay, using this little sequencer, in the video, I can point out all the modules and tell what it is. And I can point to the low-frequency oscillator, the 555, and say generally what those components do.
Right.
I'm not going to burn 5 minutes of video explaining the formulas for how you calculate all this. I'll put all that in the text over on the webpage.
Right.
So the super short attention span people can just watch the video and not get bogged down in all that stuff. But people who really want to dig in a little deeper or want to reproduce it or want the schematic, all the documentation will be back there on the web page for the project, giving in excruciating detail all the different pieces and parts of it.
Well, it's just nice to be able to have the full picture, detail and in generic. So.
Right. Now, I'm sure there are people out there doing it where they do both the video and then the backup text and drawings and pictures on a website. I just haven't come across many of them. There's a YouTube guy I just subscribed to that builds audio amplifiers. All he does is video, and he's done some awesome stuff. And I'd love to see the schematics, and I'd love to see a better discussion of what's going on. But he does 7-minute videos, and that's all he does.
Right.
There is no web page backing him up.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize how much time goes into that 7-minute video. I mean, it's not 7 minutes. It's, it usually takes at least a half hour to shoot 7 minutes correctly. And it takes a few hours to get it all edited, and then an hour or two to get it rendered and uploaded and all of that. It's, it's a full-time job just doing that 7-minute video once a week or twice a week.
Well, the post, too, though. And I had to say that because I write a post every day.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean,
we're lucky
because
there's two of us, she's got the
comprehensive.
blog under, her control there, and she does a daily blog post, and I mostly take care of the back end for the videos, so we're able to split the work, and that allows us to get a lot more done than most people can. I can't imagine trying to do, come up with a project, build a project, shoot a project, edit a project, upload a project, do a blog post on a project. You know, that's like, wow, that is
John,
a
the
serious
ambitious
undertaking. But, you know, John's
remember-
also looking at it in terms of he wants to do one of these every 2 weeks, not 2 every week.
Well, remember I said 1 to 2 a month.
Yep.
I mean, I have no illusions that this is going to be easy. I mean,
Right.
you know, you take this little sequencer as an example. I see that the finished thing probably being the video in the 15-minute range, probably broken across 3 videos. So to get that 15 minutes done, and I'm just wild ass guessing here, I'd say doing the audio, video, the prep, the shoot, the edit is probably 5 hours.
Jeez Louise. Yeah.
And then all the online documentation, the writing,
Yeah,
the
that'll
checking, the
take a
drawing,
long
the
time.
schematics, putting the page together, get it all. That's probably another 8 to 10 hours
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
to put the, so
Yeah. And you've
You know-
always done a very good job and comprehensive job on your posts. So, yeah.
I actually get criticized for that.
Well, poobah on them. Poobah
I
on
had
them
somebody
because
put a comment up, boy, this guy sure likes to read his own stuff.
no, oh, forget it. Forget
But yeah,
it.
that doesn't
Ignore
bother me in the
those
slightest.
folks.
Because, you know,
Yeah.
you always have to picture your audience. And you know what? The audience I picture for the stuff I want to do isn't the 45-year-old engineer that's been in the career for
Right.
25 years.
Right.
It's not the hobbyist that's been building stuff for 15 years. When I picture somebody, I'm picturing the 15-year-old high school kid that's just starting to learn this stuff.
Right.
And I write it to teach a high school kid that does not have an engineering degree, does not have a couple of decades of experience.
Right.
And you know what? You got to take it slow and you got to explain everything.
Or the 27-year-old complete noob at electronics right here.
But they're pretty rare, actually, I think. But, you know, the other side of that is
That
you
is a
can't
late
do that
bloomer.
on video. I mean, to go component through the sequencer
Right.
is a very simple little circuit. And to go into that depth in video, it's 3 hours worth of video.
Right. Right.
You know, it's crazy. So you have to back off and do that in text back on the webpage.
Right.
Unless you're really good, and then you can explain how a Hammond organ works in less than 6 minutes.
Right.
No.
Or you have a whole lot of money and you have production assistants and you have a camera guy and you have a tech guy and you have somebody that edits for you. You know, the current Leo Laporte model of operation.
Right.
Not to knock that. I'd love to have $1 million studio.
I would too.
But
So where can we find your amazing and awesomely comprehensive blog posts at?
well, my website, hackersbench.com,
Okay.
the content that's there now has pretty much been untouched for 2 years for the most part.
Okay.
It's poised, ready to strike.
Well, actually, I got kind of tired of doing it, and a whole bunch of other life complications came in, and they went away, and I decided I was going to relaunch the website with this different approach that I wanted to do. Excuse me. Then I decided I wanted to do the video. Then I had to figure out all this. So I could have had my relaunch 18 months ago if I hadn't got tangled up in all this video stuff. But
I'm
no.
sure in the end it'll all be worth the work, though.
I think so. I'm enjoying putting it all together. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So,
That's great.
but the first project should be all up and posted within a couple of weeks, I think.
So hackersbench.com is the website. Hackersbench TV is the main YouTube channel, right?
Is the main YouTube channel. Yep.
Cool.
There's not too many videos up there, but there are a few of the early video tests and a few explanations of the sequencer that we've been talking about. Now, this would not be ZombieTech unless we really grilled you here and said, okay, you're working on this sequencer. But, this is not useful technology unless you can convince us that it's useful in a zombie apocalypse.
Or any of your other projects.
No, this one specifically. I want to know how you
This
can
one
use
specifically.
a
Oh, Lord.
a step sequencer to fight zombies.
Well, to fight zombies, the analog mux chip used in there will switch any analog signal. So you could take all of those cheap surplus video cameras and have perimeter security switch through this device to monitor your entire perimeter.
Oh, so you can
Plus,
actually do
as you
video
guys heard
switching?
on the, I'm sorry?
You can actually do video switching through one of those mux chips?
NTSC video, you sure can.
Wow.
It's a
How much
it's-
does one of these chips cost? Like 10 cents?
the 40 cents.
Okay, so,
So for
40
40
cents
cents.
video switcher, I like it.
So, well, yeah, but it's analog video, so
Well, still.
good luck with that. And plus, as you heard the very first demo of this thing, I can produce horrifying ultrasonic audio frequencies.
Which
Are
just
zombies repelled by infrasonic audio?
we don't know yet.
You don't know yet.
I hear
Well-
that some studies on what brain damage they would have to display the behaviors which they tend to have in the movies would say that they would be highly distractible.
Well, then you could also use it to flash all kinds of different lights on and off all over the place. So there you go. There's 3 zombie applications of the little sequencer.
Brilliant.
That's great.
Absolutely brilliant.
So,
We'll have to get you to set up the perimeter security cameras then.
Now, John is an electrical engineer and he can build all sorts of neat and useful things that could help rebuild society in the case of major problems.
more than you know.
And he
Because
also
I was a manufacturing engineer.
Yeah, which is, that's something that a lot of hobbyists would never get into, some of the things that you obviously had to be very good at.
Yeah, well, I could give a 15-minute commercial on why any young person that's like a hacker maker now should be thinking about manufacturing engineering over a straight double E.
Go for it.
'Cause-
I'm sure there's not nearly as many people getting into that aspect of it.
I know,
Well,
but
the nickel statement, okay?
Okay.
When you're a manufacturing engineer, like I was at Motorola, the scope of what you have to deal with is incredibly broad, okay? An EE working in our same plant sat at his desk and designed end products, which were all digital computer stuff, and that's what he did. As a manufacturing engineer, I had to do some circuit design for interfacing all the equipment on the assembly line. I was in charge of motor controls, programmable logic controllers. I had to know pneumatics. I had to know hydraulics. I had to know high voltage electricity. You have to deal with building codes.
Oh,
So really, as a manufacturing engineer, if you get into a really good plant, you get to play with everything.
everything. That's amazing.
So on a Monday, I might be trying to figure out how to plumb half-inch copper pipe to get air to where I need it. And 2 days later, I'm taking apart a $2 million Siemens pick-and-place machine, trying to get the pick-and-place accuracy. You do it all. And so if you're,
That's amazing.
I don't know, ADHD, or you have an immense scope of interest, it really is, I think, the best engineering field to go into.
That's very cool. There really aren't that many people who think about that.
No.
About being able to give themselves that amount of breadth, I think.
I think in engineering, the trend has been towards specialization over the last 40 years. And you've got folks that basically, they do their engineering in their little tiny bubble.
Yeah.
And they don't have a broad range of how wide of a discipline engineering actually is.
Right, and if you just look at the economy now, a while ago, becoming very specialized engineer made a whole lot of sense to go find that job and make a whole lot of money, and it worked for a lot of people. But if you lose that job, that's all you know how to do. You go through a manufacturing engineering world, I mean, you lose your job. You can go be a manufacturing engineer somewhere else because the actual process doesn't matter. All the principles and the blocks are the same. All the way down to you could go be a plumber because you learned all that stuff. You could go work with hydraulic systems. You know.
So do you fix all the systems at home? Like in your house? Are you...
Everything except the air conditioner.
Amazing.
And actually, I built a 550 square foot addition to the house, and other than hiring a crane to lift this 800-pound beam 18 feet in the air, because I actually came up with 3 or 4 ways to do it, but I had a chance of dying in every last one of them, so I gave up and actually hired a crane to come lift it. Aside from that, I built the whole thing.
That's amazing.
From framing to sheetrock to plumbing to electrical to drains and sewers to vents.
Good
Well, no, I
Lord.
hired the carpet guy too. I don't do carpet.
You don't do...
Yeah. It's carpet's such a pain.
So, you know, as a career, maybe being a specialist or a highly vertical specialist is a good thing, but as an individual, having as broad a scope of experience as possible is the best thing you can do.
So then, for the zombie apocalypse, obviously besides setting up perimeter camera security, see, this is the thing, because you could end up building our entire compound.
Yeah, not
Right?
just that, building the
We just need
equipment that's required to build
Hijack
it.
a crane.
You know, that's the important part that most people don't really think about it. You need the technology to build the technology, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you don't have the
That's true.
tools, then you're not going to be able to create things like a microchip.
Yeah.
You know, how many people know how to
Exactly.
create a fab?
Can I ask a silly question? Could you DIY a soldering iron?
Yeah,
Sure.
Really?
Jerry Ellsworth did when she was a kid.
Yeah.
Is that difficult?
It's dangerous, but you can do it.
That's probably the easiest way to DIY a soldering iron would be to make it run on propane.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
Well, no,
Getting
you'd have a
propane is
contained
hard.
flame that heats the back end of the tip, and then you use the tip to solder. That would be the simplest way to do it, because you got to presume you're not going to have electricity now and then.
I
Yeah.
guess that is true.
Getting propane is somewhat of a challenge.
Well, who says it's got to be propane? Getting methane is far easier.
Yeah,
Everybody farts?
yeah.
Well, without going into graphic detail.
Yeah, you can
Your
build methane
community
collection
effluent
systems,
has to go somewhere, and that will create
Oh,
methane, which can
gross.
and that methane can be used to
I
run
get it.
internal combustion engines and other things.
be
as well.
absolutely.
Wow.
Don't you remember that from that British TV show in the 70s, The Good Life, or Good Neighbors, I think it's called as well?
That was a good
He,
show.
that's what he built his little generator in his house, was on
Methane fumes.
the pig poop
Oh,
from the pigs he was
gross.
raising in the backyard.
That's right. I remember
Yeah.
that.
So, and there you go. And that's just energy.
Interesting.
You got to cook. You got to heat the place. You got to sterilize water. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and you have fruit trees in the middle of the desert too that are growing.
Yeah. Yeah. There's 24 out there.
24. Have they? Wait, when are they gonna give fruit again?
Usually it's best late November through December.
Oh wow. Okay.
Being Arizona, I mean, our season is kind of skewed.
Right.
So, but I mean, all the fruit is set right now. It just takes several more months to before you can eat it. The pomegranates are ripe now, though.
Well, how do you grow plants in the desert? Like, how do you grow fruit trees in the desert? Do you have to like just deliberately water them?
Yes, you act with complete disregard to the ecology of the planet.
Gotcha.
You pump tons of water onto it.
Gotcha.
You
Well, I
convince them
shouldn't say
that they're
tons.
growing somewhere else.
Say again.
You just keep it a secret from the plants that they're in the desert.
I see.
Yeah, it's mostly a fun. And actually, citrus, you go way back, most citrus, the origins are Mediterranean, and the climate's very similar to here.
Sure.
But they just take lots of water. But ecologically speaking, okay, what's the worst? Okay, so I put a lot of water on these things, or I can go to the store and buy oranges that got shipped here from Brazil.
Right. That's
in a freighter
There is a
burning.
point. There is a point. That is true.
Yeah, it's now the true greenies that say, well, don't eat oranges unless they're in season and grown locally with available water. It's like, okay, we can take this too far. I like my grapefruit. Thank you very much. So,
Yeah, I don't want to get scurvy.
that's
No,
and
yeah,
rickets.
we don't want any of that bow-leggedness.
That's right.
No.
I like the idea of being able to create sort of year-round, self-sustained indoor
Hydroponics.
hydroponics farms. That's a much better idea than like shipping grapefruit up from Brazil. I mean, that's just stupid the way that we're doing it right now. There's better
Actually-
ways to approach the problem.
I played with hydroponics in my old house.
Did you?
Yeah, I grew tomatoes in the garage.
How'd that go?
It went really, really well. I mean,
No.
it was kind of an experiment. I built the whole thing and built the electronics and got a bunch of tomatoes, and they got bored with it.
You got bored with hydroponics
Well, I don't know.
because
I don't know.
it's a self-sustaining thing. Well, it has to be, right?
To some
Well,
extent.
yeah. Well, the thing is, I wanted to learn how to do it, and once I learned how to do it, my mission was done. It wasn't. My goal was to learn it. My goal wasn't to start a gigantic hydroponic thing. But
Well,
what a
what
lot
was
of people
the
don't
most-
realize is hydroponics. There is a lot of work that goes into keeping that all going.
Right. So what's the? This might be a difficult question to answer because I'm pretty naive in terms of hydroponics. But what's the most difficult part of getting the hydroponic system to work?
Getting it to work is easy. Keeping it working is the hard part because you have to monitor the chemistry of the water you keep pumping through those trays. You have to watch the pH of the water and all the nutrients you got to put into it. I mean, it's pretty complex.
So what like nutrients did you have to put into it?
Oh, I don't remember exactly, but it was a over-the-counter soluble fertilizer.
Oh.
And they have the 3 numbers for the magnesium, potassium, and calcium, I guess.
Oh, I see.
And I don't remember what it is. But there's gobs and gobs of websites that talk about, how to make and maintain the solution that goes through there.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I think it'd be
I-
more useful to like know how to actually produce that soluble fertilizer yourself, because I mean, in today's context, yeah, it's fine. Go to the store, buy it. But in the context of this show, you really kind of want to know how they made
to.
that stuff that you can
Well,
buy over the counter.
and it's kind of funny because, the most important part of it is the
Nitrates, right?
nitrates, the nitrogen.
Yeah,
And so we're right back to your community effluent again.
right. I mean, you're basically getting the poop to the right fermented state, and then dissolving it.
Gross.
Well, that's
I've noticed that some people around are experimenting with combining fish farming and
Yeah.
hydroponics, because you can
Cool.
use the fish poop as the food for the plants, and you can use the worms that you're using with the plants and all that as fish
Yep,
food.
that's called aquaculture.
I
Interesting.
imagine there's a lot of ways to approach that, but
I'm making a face right now, but that's very interesting.
So, but
I'm just
thing
the
is,
nurse.
Most people that do hydroponics are pushing to get absolutely the maximum yield they can out of their hydroponic system.
Right, because there's only so much room that they're
Right.
able to put the system in.
To do that, you push the we'll call it the fertilizer levels so high, fish aren't going to live in that water. Nothing's going to live in that water other than the plants. So
Right.
aquaculture works, but you get a much lower yield out of the system.
Sure.
So
Well, we're just gonna have to hijack a few ginormous warehouses then.
yeah.
that's definitely on my list of things to do in the case that society needs help getting back on its feet, is reclaiming some warehouses for the greater good. Especially
This
ones
is for the
full
greater
of cool
good. Get
stuff.
out.
Well, no, not
Well,
ones that are occupied.
There should be a lot of vacant ones.
There should be.
We just got to chase the zombies out with my ultrasonic sequencer.
There we go.
Wish
Quick,
I
there's
could
one
build into
behind
something that
you.
looks like a gun with a big ultrasonic horn sticking out the front.
Some sonic weaponry built from
You bet.
555s. I love it.
That's great. So
You know
everybody
me,
gets
I
a
love
bullhorn.
anything that mixes audio production into the solution.
You bet. Well, okay, well then we got to put the audio recorder on the gun along with the flip cam so that we can document chasing all the zombies off, right?
That's great. So
Yeah.
we could still be vloggers and bloggers while we're killing the zombies.
That's right.
Give everybody tips. Then everything will be open source because everybody's going to want to find more methods of killing zombies.
Speaking of open source, open hardware, did you guys see a while back that guy that put together the open hardware and open source plans for the major tools that are required to rebuild society?
Oh, I did see that. He
No.
had like a backhoe
Yeah,
and a tractor.
Whoa.
I forget what all the pieces were, but yeah.
yeah. I'm not going to list them or anything, but basically he came up with a modular design of a set of parts that can be reconfigured into each of the major, big pieces of equipment that you need to be able to do things like, road construction and
Really?
building of
That's
larger
so cool.
buildings and
How
cutting
cool.
trenches and all that kind of, splitting logs and
Do you remember the name of the guy
no.
or the project?
No, but I'm sure with a little bit of Google searching,
I probably could.
somebody could
Could
find it
find
very
it.
easily.
Yeah, I saw it listed on another blog, and I can't remember where it was.
I saw it a few months ago, and then Chris Gamble tweeted it again
Yeah.
a couple days ago because Chris is slow. He
But,
he catches up, but takes him a while.
Yeah. But I'm an engineer. I looked at that site and said I could do better than that. Oh,
Oh,
and I could do better than that.
boy.
I do it this way.
oh boy.
So,
I'm glad you're on our team.
It's interesting when you add that element to it, where the parts can be, you can disassemble one unit and be able to build the other unit from the same building blocks. I think that's
Right.
an extremely useful part of it.
and that's all hydraulics.
That's great.
As I remember, most of his stuff was hydraulically operated.
That's great.
A lot of people would look at that guy and not understand why what he's doing is so, useful even in, reality's context. Because you take that technology and you drop it on the ground in the middle of Minnesota and it's, basically worthless. Because, you can go down to the equipment shop and rent whatever you need. But you take that same technology and you drop it off in a developing country where they don't have access to that kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And suddenly, they can do things that, enable them to build their own economies up from the ground up.
Right.
So
Pretty impressive stuff.
yeah. Now, okay, sorry, random question again because I'm still stuck on this zombie apocalypse bit. The 3 tools you would take in an impending zombie apocalypse.
3 tools that I would take?
Yes, the 3 power tools or tools.
Holy cow. They can be power tools.
Yeah, they can be power tools. Because we'll find some way to, deal to
Well,
get a
Roy's
generator.
bringing his solar panels.
Yeah,
He's going to strap them to the back of his car.
yeah.
Well, then I would take a sawzall.
A saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sawzall. Whisker knows what a
I
sawzall
have
Yeah.
is.
no idea what that is.
It's
I
like
would take-
it's about yay big, and it's got a reciprocating saw blade that sticks out the front that does this.
Uh-huh.
You can use it to pretty much cut anything.
Oh, okay.
And a table saw and a welder.
Oh, a welder. We don't have one yet. Good.
That'd
All
be
right.
extremely useful to
That'd
have a
be very
welder.
useful.
That's true.
I think
So,
Roy's bringing
with-
the power drill, so.
With those 3 things, you could take just about anything apart and turn it into something else.
Cool. I dig it.
Pretty good
So
selection.
that's what I'd take.
I dig it. I dig it.
All right, so we've got a few minutes left here in our hour. Anything else we wanted to cover before we finish this up?
Any other projects that you're thinking that you're kind of mulling over for your Hackers Bench show?
Okay, my little geek engineer sideshow, I have a spreadsheet that lists 27 projects.
That's
Sounds kind of
great.
light. Kind of light.
So yeah, that means I'm booked for 18 months, right?
That's
worth of production.
fantastic. That's fantastic.
So what do you think is going to be the next one up after the sequencer?
After this will be the frequency counter.
Frequency counter. Like an accurate frequency counter?
A pretty darn accurate frequency counter that has no microcontroller in it.
Okay, so are you going to use like a temperature controlled crystal or something?
It's the time base is crystal. It's not going to be temperature based. It's not going to be the accuracy of a lab instrument. But for most hobbyist needs, it's perfectly fine. Even for probably most ham radio needs,
Cool.
it'll read up to 5 megahertz. If you need real tight accuracy, go buy one. You can buy one for a couple $100.
Right.
That's absolutely accurate. This is a much more simple, portable, easy to understand how it all works kind of frequency counter.
And it doesn't cost $200.
Doesn't cost anywhere near $200.
There you
Costs
go.
more like $30.
Amazing. You are like
Maybe.
our go-to guy for cheap, innovative solutions.
If you think about it, I mean, you're doing your signal generation with your sequencer, right? So you're
Right.
being able to do your own signal generation with that to some extent, but you can't tell exactly what frequency it is. You add the frequency to it. Now you've got a useful tool, which is your frequency counter, and that makes your signal generator more useful because you can actually dial in the frequency that it's operating at and use it as a test signal.
Yeah.
And
And-
I'm sure the next project, it sounds like you're getting on a theme here. You could do something that is also useful as a piece of lab equipment for a do-it-yourself electronics lab.
Well, actually, the frequency counter is funny. Two things. If you go to hackersbench.com right now, you'll see I put up a project for a 1 hertz time base. That is the time base for the frequency counter. That's why I designed it. So the frequency counter is a bunch of stuff that adds on to that. And the reason I put together the frequency counter is because I wanted to build a weather station. And in
Oh,
the weather station, I wanted an anemometer to measure wind speed. And I built a sensor, but I had to calibrate that against speed. And the way you do that, you bolt it to the top of your car, and your GPS tells you how fast you're going, and you see what the frequency of the pulses are, so you can make a curve to know what wind speed makes that thing spin how fast. I have a really good frequency counter. It's a Hewlett-Packard rack mount, weighs 50 pounds. I can't throw that into the car to measure the sensor on the road. So I needed a real simple little battery-powered basic frequency counter to read the wind sensor bolted to the top of the van to calibrate it. So that's why I made the frequency counter.
nice.
So
Nice.
that's basically that.
That'll be an interesting project to see come together.
Which, or all.
I'll have to see if I can try some, because I've been interested in making a weather station type of thing too, like a tiny little, just typical like temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, wind speed type of thing.
That'll be useful
Well,
for your ham station.
Well, you'll love my anemometer sensor.
Awesome.
It's basically made out of PVC pipe, roller blades from Goodwill, and soup ladles.
Soup ladles. My gosh. Awesome.
And
Awesome.
it's not because I'm, eking out a living here. It's because when I was getting started in electronics, I had zero money.
Right.
Today, if I just wanted a wind sensor, well, there's 18 of them online, and go throw my Visa card number at them and buy this $100 sensor.
Right.
Well, when I was 15, 16, 17, I didn't have that kind of
Right.
money, and I think it's much more interesting. How can you make working stuff with very little money, hopefully repurposing and recycling stuff along the way? So.
Right.
And this
That's-
is why John is going to be a guest more than once on this show, because
Is that a threat?
we have a lot of information to download out of John's brain and into all of yours.
Yes.
Well, I got plenty to give.
Wonderful.
That pretty much wraps up our hour. Thanks for listening.
And thank you, John, for coming.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been
Yeah.
fun.
We hijacked John at the last minute. We're like, hey, can you talk and sound intelligent and interesting for an hour straight with
And I
5
said, well, I
minutes
can
notice?
talk.
It seems to have gone pretty well.
Indeed.
Well, I'm glad you're happy.
So that's it for this week. Tune in next week for another scintillating episode of Zombie Tech.
Indeed.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.